guys, Metal Matt here, and welcome to my show. This is the Metal Matt show here on Metal Stream Radio. I've been doing this for a few weeks now. It's great to be here, tell some heavy metal stories and, play some great music. Sometimes some interview clips. I've interviewed a lot of different rock stars and stuff. Plenty of stuff to enjoy. And, we're here on Metal Stream Radio to keep the heavy metal alive. Not that many radio stations play heavy metal, so this is, a great place just for all the metalheads to get together and rock out. We love the classic metal, we love some black metal, we love some thrash metal, and sometimes a bit of new metal as well, but I think we're pretty old school, If you like the classic stuff, then you won't be disappointed. And today particularly we got a special, because I'm here in Mexico. I'm from England, so you know a bit about me. I'm from England. I'm Metal Matt, as I say. The name is my musician name, but it was actually given to me by Rob Holford. One day I got a Christmas card off him because I used to meet him quite often, and we kind of got to know each other. Not like best friends or anything, but he knew me, and we chatted, and he sent me a Christmas card one year, and he put Metal Matt on the envelope. And I was like, that's cool. I told his sister, and she was like, oh wow, you must be happy with that. And she said, yeah, you should use that name. At least you can say he gave it to you. And KK said the same when I interviewed him, because I was weighing up my options. Originally I was going to be Matt Gothic, because there's a lot of Gothic influence in what I do. But even KK was like, oh, you got to use the Metal Matt, if Rob gave it to you. It's like, well, yeah, I do, because I love Rob. He was my vocal hero. As a vocalist, I really admire him, and I've always loved Judas Priest. They're my main band. I got into them as a teenager. I grew up on Alice Cooper. My dad was playing that all the time, and occasionally he'd play me some stuff from back in the day, other bands and stuff. And I always remember Johnny Be Good and Breaking the Law were my kind of two songs I knew of Judas Priest, and I loved it. I couldn't believe how high Rob's voice was on Johnny Be Good, Go, Johnny, go! Not far off that kind of pitch, very high, and I just used to love it. Although it's funny, a lot of fans don't like that version of Johnny Be Good. I've heard, people are like, it's the worst thing Priest did, doing a cover of Johnny Be Good. But I thought it was fantastic. I loved it. I thought it was great. And, as a kid, it was one of the things that made me sort of think, wow, Judas Priest rocks. They were cool. The music video was cool for it. People were being thrown all around the audience, and being lifted to the stage, and just a crazy audience. I remember on the music video, very, very cool. So I loved that music video, and also Breaking the Law. And I think it was a live version. I always used to watch a live version. That was the only thing I knew of Judas Priest really growing up. But occasionally I'd put them on, and I think one year my mum was like, what do you want for Christmas? And I was like, well, some CDs. I was like, get me something I haven't heard that much of, I was like, get me Judas Priest. I remember saying, get me a couple of Judas Priest CDs. And I think by just chance, she must have picked the ones which looked the coolest. She isn't much of a metalhead, my mum, but my dad is, But she picked a couple of really good choices. Nostradamus album and Screaming for Vengeance. And Nostradamus, again, is an album not that many fans like, because it was a concept album, a later album. But it's an album I just fell in love with. I love the operatic vocals. Death had a particularly Alice Cooper feel about it. I always like that song a lot. I was really impressed. I thought it was fantastic. And Screaming for Vengeance, that is just one of the most iconic albums. And the difference between those two albums is so big, but it shows the versatility of Judas Priest. So from that moment I loved Judas Priest. I've met all of Judas Priest, and Rob a few times. Used to chat with him sometimes when I'd meet him, and he was always very down to earth. And I remember one time he was telling me, I've been in the studio today, it was really good session, in the studio. He likes to go in and get out of there. He doesn't hang around, he gets in the studio, does what he's got to do, and gets on with his day kind of thing. But it's it's great. It was a great insight. It's been a lot of years since I met him now, but I'm doing my own thing now with my music and carrying on, and obviously KK Downing, I got to know him very well. He's more of a kind of friend, since I interviewed him, I've always stayed in touch with him, and he's always invited me along to his gigs and stuff, and you know, I've had a drink with him after his last gig in Birmingham, and it's nice when your heroes are what you hope they'll be, and KK definitely lives up to that, you know. So yeah, I've had some cool experiences, probably better than a lot of fans, you know, who don't get that opportunity. So I'm lucky to have, you know, been able to meet my favourite band and sort of chat with them and everything, you know. So yeah, it's something I'm really happy about, and I'm always here to fly the flag for Judas Priest and heavy metal in general. Today, you know, like I said, I'm in Mexico. I'm living out here these days. Got my wife's Mexican. I'm out here, and it's great. I love it. You know, better than England, really. You know, weather-wise, and people are a lot friendlier and different things. And the music, they love their metal and stuff. And I've got a few gigs lately, and I've got a gig coming up this Saturday where I've been asked to sing a tribute, because I've kind of got known a bit in the area now. As a metal kind of vocalist, you know. So yeah, I was invited to sing a Black Sabbath tribute and Ozzy. It's like a mixture of songs, but mainly Ozzy and Black Sabbath, and a bit of Rainbow and Dio stuff towards the end. So a really good kind of tribute. It's going to be fun. That's coming up on Saturday the 9th at a little place called Micheladas. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Great to sing that stuff. Great to pay tribute to Ozzy, you know. And we got some great songs, and I'm learning these songs at the moment. I mean, I know them, but it's one thing knowing the songs and another thing singing them, especially with a band and timings and all that sort of stuff. So I'm listening to these songs a lot at the moment, and I thought, well, they're all fantastic songs. So I'm going to play a special today, a Dio, Sabbath and Ozzy special, where we're just going to enjoy a lot of that classic stuff, and it gives me a chance to keep listening to it, as I've got a lot of practice in this week to get in, so we can enjoy it all together. And you know, on the next show I'll probably have some little clips of me singing the songs from the gig, which I can show you all. So yeah, it's going to be really fun. For now, I'm gonna start off with a song called "So Tired" by Ozzy Osbourne. God bless you, Ozzy. We miss you. We love you. And it's really cool to be able to just celebrate his music here today. And a bit of Dio too. I love Dio. I know there's a lot of talk that they didn't really get along, but I've heard Ozzy had a lot of respect for Dio. Not sure if it was vice versa though, but you know, Ozzy always seemed very okay with Dio, you know, from interviews and things I'd seen, you know. So yeah, but either way, we got the music, and that's what matters. And they were both legends, and yeah. It's going to be mainly an Ozzy special. There's a lot of Ozzy stuff, but we're definitely going to be playing some great Rainbow and Dio songs as well. So yeah, like I say, Ozzy up next, or up first, and this is a little bit of a So Tired.
Say goodbye. I know it's gonna make
what a beautiful song. So tired. I love the versatility of Ozzy's voice. You know, he could have done pop. You know, he's got a very kind of clean, nice melodic voice, but he loves his metal. He loves his rock. You know, he's kind of always done a kind of heavy music, and he brought melody to metal. You know, a lot of metal is growling and different things. You know, it's funny. I recently saw an interview with Gene Simmons, who's been saying some very nice things for a change about Ozzy. You know, usually he's being cynical about different things, but with Ozzy he's only had, you know, very positive things to say. And yeah, I heard him saying that Ozzy, his trying to remember the exact quote here, but yeah, he said most singers, something along the lines of this, you know, most singers have to kind of create a voice, put a bit of rock edge on their voice, you know, that kind of, you know, a bit of, I was made for loving you, baby, you know, whatever, you know, got to put a bit of grit on it. But he said Ozzy was always melody, you know, he just went out there and was always himself, you know, he was real, and he was an anomaly, you know, there'd never be another Ozzy. He was a one of a kind. And yeah, that's kind of what Gene Simmons was saying. It was nice to read, actually. It was nice to see him say something nice, you know, and it was good. Yeah, he was very true with that. Ozzy was a one of a kind. There'll never be another Ozzy. You know, I think we're all missing him day by day. You know, we've been quite Ozzy and Sabbath heavy here on the Metal Stream Radio the past few weeks, but I think that's what everyone wants, and, you know, I certainly do. I just want to listen to this music at the moment, and, you know, it's a time to really celebrate the great music of Ozzy, and yeah, I'm looking forward to singing this stuff. So all these songs I'm playing today are songs I'll be playing at my gig in Cancun here on Saturday. So it's going to be fun. But yeah, I don't know how we're going to perform that one though. That's so tired because there's a lot of violins and keyboards and things. So I'm thinking maybe there's going to be some backing tracks on that one. I don't know. But yeah, apart from that one, all the other songs should be pretty straightforward. They're pretty heavy ones, you know. As you'll see as the show goes on, there's some great songs we'll be playing today. So yeah, now to talk a bit about Dio. You know, Dio, I kind of first got a Black Sabbath album. One of them was Heaven and Hell. The two albums I remember getting by Black Sabbath was Sabbath Bloody Sabbath and Heaven and Hell, you know. That was the two albums I kind of listened to death. And I'd always be listening to that stuff, and equally I love both their voices. And there's a lot of bands, I think, where it's like you can't have another singer, and it's like, no, we don't want another singer, you know. It just, the fans won't accept it and different things, like Judas Priest, you know. Tim Ripper Owens replaced Rob for a while. There is a lot of fans. I mean, I've met a lot of people out here who love Ripper more than Rob. When I did my concert a few weeks ago, there was a guy, well, a couple of people said, I said, oh, I love Judas Priest and that, and it's kind of, they're not as known here in Mexico. I mean, I think they are in like Mexico City and stuff, but I don't know, the metal fans here in Cancun that I've met, they know Motley Crue and stuff like that. They like all that glam sort of stuff. But yeah, Ripper was what was coming up. They were like, oh, we love Ripper. I was like, really? You don't like the classic, you know, Rob Halford? It's like my favourite singer ever. To me, it's like mind-blowing. And Ripper's great. I mean, I've seen Ripper live, met him a lot of times. He's even sang on one of my songs, Razor Edge. He's great voice. But I was just surprised that people liking a singer who wasn't the original here in Mexico. But because typically I hear people just always whining on about, you know, it's not Priest without Halford and stuff, which I kind of agree with. But at the same time, it's like, well, they're allowed to do something different. They did 2 albums. They should be celebrated, those albums. They should be available, and they're not. But they should be, you know. It's very weird they kind of erased Ripper's era of Priest, and a lot of people did like it, and it was heavier stuff. And Rob did his thing. So why couldn't Priest do their thing and do something different? I don't understand why it's not readily available, you know, the Jugulator and Demolition albums. But like I said, I've met people who do love that stuff while I'm here. But online, usually I'm seeing the other side of it, where people just like Rob, you know, most of the time, which I relate to, because it is a different voice, you know. Rob and Ripper, they are different. I think Rob's got a more melodic voice and kind of got the depth to his vocal range in terms of like ballads and things like that. Again, Rob could have sang anything as well. He could have sang pop or whatever, because he's got a very nice voice as well. But Ripper is a proper metal singer, so it depends what you're after. Ripper is full out metal. He's a screamer, he's a real screamer, high pitch and a lot of distortion on his vocals, which Rob does as well, but he's kind of not every song, whereas I think that's Ripper's kind of a thing. He's quite unique in that way. He has got a hell of a scream on him, very powerful, Jugulator! That kind of thing, very extreme kind of vocals, You're going to burn in hell! That kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's great. He's done some damn good songs, and I've seen him perform both those songs live, and it's insane. And even singing Riding on the Wind, I saw him do that with Dave Ellison on bass, Les Binks on drums, KK on guitar, and AJ Mills. It was like a special show they did, Ripper on vocals, at the Steel Mill in Wolverhampton back a few years. Before KK did his KK's Priest, it was just before that. They did this sort of one-off gig, and it was fantastic. Ripper singing Riding on the Wind. He sounded just like Rob on the 82 Vengeance. No joke. It was the first time I'd really heard Ripper sounding like Rob. I'd never really thought he sounded like Rob. I thought he sings good, he screams good, but I never sort of thought, oh, that's just like Rob. I think some people do. Some people do think that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very tuned into Rob's sort of eras of Priest, because that's what I love. That's the stuff I got and everyone got, I guess. So, I can hear the difference. But he's an excellent singer, in his own right, and fair play to him for that. So, I forgot what I was actually talking about in the first place to get to this point. But, singers. So, some bands with different singers aren't accepted is what I was getting to. And I have heard, again, in the Black Sabbath community, there are areas of people who just want Ozzy, which is understandable. But I think it feels like it was more widely accepted that Dio did some stuff. And you had Tony Martin as well at another point doing vocals on some albums and stuff with Black Sabbath. Recently I was reading people saying, I wish they hadn't called it Black Sabbath with Dio. They should have just called it Heaven and Hell, like they did later, where they did their own band version, But I disagree. I love that it's a Black Sabbath album. I think Heaven and Hell is one of the best Black Sabbath albums around. It's fantastic, and I think it's great that they had Ozzy, they had him, they had Tony Martin. I think even Ian Gillan did some stuff, didn't he, at some point. So they've had a lot of singers, but obviously Ozzy's always going to be the Black Sabbath singer we know and love. But Ozzy went and did his own things. I think when a singer goes and does their own things quite, without a care in the world, that's how it felt with Ozzy. He just did what he wanted to do. Black Sabbath was his band, but I don't think he was totally dedicated to that. I get the feeling maybe it was a bit more sort of boring for him to keep doing that. I think I'd heard that in the past. I'm not sure 100%, but he wanted to do his own stuff, and his own stuff's a lot more upbeat than Black Sabbath, you'll notice, very kind of upbeat, melodic, and a lot more ballads and things, so he kind of tunes into a more, dreamy, beautiful voice and ballads and things with his own stuff, and some heavy stuff, mind. I mean, Down to Earth album was that wild, fantastic album, was one of my favourites. But yeah, I think Ozzy, seeing as he wasn't totally just dedicated to Black Sabbath, I think, that kind of makes it okay for them to have other singers and for us to enjoy other singers with Black Sabbath. Whereas someone like, with Judas Priest, I think Rob did leave for a long period, but he's also been with them for a long period, and you can tell he's well into that. Judas Priest is everything. He could still be doing his own projects now, but he's kind of got that out of his system. Doesn't seem to have any kind of wanting to go back to doing his own stuff. I mean, he may want to, but it's never sort of talked about. He's just priest, and so it's a bit different. And I think with Judas Priest, it's a very unique kind of music, and you want to hear that voice, and Black Sabbath is too, but somehow when Ozzy was making equally as good music on his own, it didn't really matter. It was nice to have the two bands doing different things, and like I say, Dio is a fantastic voice. I mean, there's no denying that voice. You can hate on Dio as much as you want if you just a big Ozzy fan, but how can anyone deny that voice? It's the voice of just, I don't know, it's beautiful, it's magical, the way he sings and his lyrics and everything, is very mystical. And yeah, Neon Nights, beautiful song. So many great songs by Dio. And next up, we're going to go to a bit of Dio's solo stuff, because I love that stuff as well. And we're going to go for a classic, a bit of Holy Diver! Never There we go, but a holy diver. Right, what's up next, guys? I'll give you a bit more Dio, guys, up next, because we love a bit of Ronnie, and we'll get into a bit more Ozzy a bit later, but for now we've got Stargazer by Rainbow.
I knew no one said
there we have it, a bit of a stargazer. Beautiful song, really showcases Dio's amazing voice. You know, there's not many singers who can sing like that. You know, so yeah, that's going to be a bit of a challenge on Saturday. But luckily, this is my area, kind of. I was going to say area of expertise. I mean, almost. You know, I sing a lot of Judas Priest. I sing a lot of classic metal. So, you know, this kind of thing is good for me. It's going to be a good set. You know, I'm glad we got such a good set list for the show. Yeah, I'm glad I can listen to it all with you today and enjoy, because there's just so many great songs. I saw the list of songs and I thought these are all be great for the radio show, because so many great songs for us to all enjoy together. So yeah, we can have a bit of a rainbow hour and some more Ozzy, and yeah, a good mixture of stuff. But I thought I'd tell a story, because here I always tell rock and roll stories and stuff. Whenever I do these radio stations, because I've had a lot of experiences. I've met a lot of rock stars, I've interviewed a lot of rock stars, I've done a lot of performing myself with my own original music and stuff. So yeah, I've met a lot of people, and I thought I'd tell you a little story when I met Dee Snider, because it was quite a surprise for me. KK down him back a few years ago when he'd sort of just left Priests for a year or something, maybe longer actually, but I can't remember, but it was his first performance in a while, something, and it was with Ross the Boss, and they're great. I believe it's the guitarist of Man of War, his own kind of band, Ross the Boss, and the singer is Mark Lopes. He's got a very good high voice as well, yeah, KK joined them at Bloodstock Festival, which at this point I knew KK, I'd interviewed him and stuff and kept in touch with him, and he invited me along on the guest list to Bloodstock, and he set me the task of getting him some signed photos, because he had a signing in the signing tent that day, and it's quite a funny story, but yeah, I thought I'd tell you how it all happened to begin with. So yeah, me and my friend, I don't drive, so I begged my friend to go. You know, I said, we got to go to Bloodstock, come on, it'd be good. And he said, oh, I can do it, but just for the day, like, just I can't stay late, we got to be back by like 10 at night or something. So it's not great, but okay, kind of thing. So we saw KK, that was all great, but first things first, we had a long old drive from Bristol to Bloodstock, which I can't even remember where the place is, but it's pretty far away, out in the sticks somewhere. Yeah, we travelled all up there in the car. And then when we arrived, we were all excited. We got out the car, we went to this little booth where we say that we're on the guest list kind of thing. And there was this lady in there, and I said, oh, hi, you know, we're on the guest list, I think. And she went to look through the list, and she was there looking at the list for a really long time. You know, we told her our names or whatever, and she was looking at the list, going through, and I could see the list because she was just stood there looking through, you know, but she was taking a long time to see it and that. And then I spotted my name on there, and I said, oh, I think it's halfway down or whatever. And she said, oh, you shouldn't be looking. I thought, God, weird how some people are, aren't they? You know, you try and help them. I was like, oh, halfway down. And then she had the audacity after that to say, oh, you're going to leave a donation for coming in today? I said, nah, no chance. And I walked off, and that was it, you know, and we did get in. You know, maybe if she was nice, I would have, but yeah, horrible. Some people are vile. I've had a few bad experiences. When I went to a gig at the Steel Mill, funny enough, that gig I was talking about earlier, awful security. I was on the guest list then, and you've always got to kind of explain, and like, you know, with the guest list thing, so it's not as straightforward as just showing your ticket. And even then I was talking with the lady, the ticket lady, and she was really nice, this one, and I had my stuff with her, and then for some reason the security like pushed me while I was talking to the woman, you know, really nicely talking with her. He was like pushing me right back, like back out the doors almost, you know. And I said, my stuff's there with the woman. I said, what are you doing? She's looking me up on the thing. And I said, my stuff's there, you know, because all my bags were there at the desk where I was chatting with her, and he was pushing me back. So there was a big queue you know, like out the doors, and I was kind of there at the front of the queue talking to the box office thing. But yeah, pushed me back. I said, oh, my stuff's there, and he's like, oh, I want it to stay there. And yeah, just really rude. So I've had some really rude. I'll tell you, if you're ever on the guest list, for some reason people are extremely rude sometimes to you. They don't like you getting in free, you know, it's very odd. But anyway, you know, I thought if you're a guest, they treat you nice, you know, and you know, and it's funny, there's a lot of myths in rock and metal and stuff, you know, like, because I knew I was going to Bloodstock, I thought this is going to be cool. And we got in there, I had these photos for KK to use at the signing, which I got printed in Bristol. A really cool photo of him shredding away, you know, looking like the rock star he is, really cool. I had to find the first thing we did, we arrived, and then I had to find the tent where KK was and doing the signing, and I said, oh, I've got these for KK. They didn't get what I was saying. They were like, oh, you can only get one signed. I said, no, they're actually for KK. KK got me to bring these. And then she just kept saying, oh, it's only one per person or whatever. I was like, yeah, no, it's for KK. It took a long time. She did not get what I was on about. And then another guy come out, a security guy, burly guy, come over. He said, oh, what is it? I said, they're for KK. He got me to print these for his signing, you know. He said, oh, weirdly, he said, oh, let's go back and see if he's, you know, if he's there or whatever. And they did just walk me backstage with the photos, which was good, you know. And I think they were kind of waiting to see if KK actually did know me, you know, or if I was just bluffing it to get backstage. Either way, it worked. But I went backstage, and yeah, KK was there mid-interview, and he said, oh, hello, you know. I think even he was surprised I got backstage, you know, but I had to get the photos to him somehow, you know. Yeah, so I got him the photos, and then I was backstage. I thought, well, I've never been backstage, especially at like a Bloodstock event like that, you know. I did get backstage once at Ripper Owens' show in Bristol, but that was a smaller gig. But this was Bloodstock, you know. I was like, come on, we're backstage. I was like, we haven't got the wristbands or anything. Usually they kick you out if you haven't got a wristband. They're pretty tight with things like that. They, you know, if they notice that, then you're out of there. But we hung around a bit backstage. So I said, you know, you don't know who you're gonna see. I could see any celebrity and, you know, any rock star. And I thought, yeah, I'll hang around backstage for a while. KK was busy doing interviews. I got the photos to him. In the end, he didn't use the photos for that. I think he used them, you know, he took them home with him. He liked them, so he took them, I don't know, maybe for like sending out to fans when they write to him or something. I don't know what he kept them for, but obviously some other occasion. But yeah, I don't think he used them at the actual signing in the end, because they had some stuff for him. I think he said, oh, they've got some stuff for me. But I think he thought they might not have originally, so he got me to print a load of shots. I'm sure he's made use of them. But either way, we were backstage, and it was surreal. My friend was quite shy, and like, he's like, what are we doing here? You know, this is mad, we're backstage. And the funny thing, I'll tell you, is nothing is as rock and roll as you think it's going to be. I thought it'd be all fun backstage, you know, people smoking dope and just crazy, you know, things going on. But it wasn't. It was like all these sensible people, and everyone was queued up for the buffet. And very interested in the buffet. That's all anyone was interested in. And yeah, I tried chatting with a few people who I didn't really know, but who were obviously from bands, just, you know, different members of bands I saw. And nobody was particularly friendly, you know, nobody was kind of friendly. So it's just, it's not that exciting being backstage. But then, suddenly, I spotted Danny Filth. He come out in full makeup with all his makeup on. He come out of his trailer, obviously just had his makeup done. I was like, oh, that's Danny Filth. And then I went up, asked for a photo, along with a lot of other people who were hanging around. People took a photo with him, but he didn't say a word. He just sort of stood there. And, yeah, he didn't seem mega friendly. And the kicker in the teeth of that one is that he posted a load of pictures from Bloodstock on his Instagram, and him with all these, you know, hot goths and things like that, and then he put the picture of me and him up actually as the first picture, but he like zoomed it in so it was just his face and like a tiny little bit of me on the photo. So yeah, it was like just him, you know. He just wanted him on it. So not only did he not talk or anything or say anything friendly, he posed for the photo, that's nice and everything, but yeah, he wasn't friendly. And then he crops me out of the photo, and everyone else he included and tagged them all and all this stuff. But yeah, our photo was like the main photo, and he cropped me out of it. But there you go, that's rock and roll and rock stars for you. Not everyone's as great as you think they're going to be. And KK's great, you know, he's always been a good guy, and you know, he I think he's the real deal, and he's just dedicated to his craft. I don't think he's, you know, the Ozzy thing, I didn't see him in many photos hanging around and stuff, because he played obviously at the Ozzy shows. You know, I think he's not into, from what I can see, you know, I've never talked to him about stuff like that, and you know, obviously that's private anyway, but from what I see publicly, he's not kind of in it for the fame, you know, and getting photos with all the rock stars and stuff that he meets. It's more just he does his craft, he does what he's good at, he loves getting up on that stage and shredding, and you know, I admire him for that. He's the kind of real deal. He's never trying to be seen amongst all different rock stars and stuff. He just does his thing, and he's amazing at it, you know, and it's great. He's still playing, still doing appearances and things. He did a version of a song with Ripper Owens recently. I think it was Never Satisfied, off the Rock and Roller Judas Priest album. He did a version of that one with Ripper, released as KK, not as KK's Priest or anything. And that was really, really cool. I'm hoping one day I'll be able to do something with him. I'd love to sing some of that early stuff with KK. You can dream, right? But yeah, I've collaborated with a few cool people. JJ of Rob Holford's Fight Band. He's collaborated with me a few times, so that was nice. And I played with Satchel of Steel Panther, sang live with him. So I've had some cool experiences. I'm always holding out that hopefully KK, never know, something in the future maybe. But yeah, anyway, back to Bloodstocks. That was the first person I saw, Danny Filth. Cool photo I got with him, you know, even if he did crop me out of it pretty much. And funny enough, all my fans were like commenting, "Oh, tag Matt, you know, tag Matt," and he did tag me in the end, because he tagged everyone else but me, you know. And our photo was the main photo, the first photo on the set of photos he posted, you know. But anyway, so forget him, you know. He's alright, but you know, yeah, he's got a good odd shriek on him, a good black metal shriek, but it's not my cup of tea really. But it was cool to meet him, you know. And then someone who was a lot more up my street was, suddenly I spotted Dee Snider, and you know, I used to love him as a kid. I loved Twisted Sister and stuff, and some of the first stuff I learned to play on guitar was like I Wanna Rock and stuff, and I think I used to tweet it to Dee Snider, and he'd like the tweet and retweet or whatever, you know, all that stuff. I don't even remember how Twitter works, but yeah, he used to correspond with me a bit on there. I think I sent him a picture of an old Twisted Sister LP I found at home, and I said it's my dad's LP, and he said, "Oh, that's where you get your good taste from," you know, like my dad. So that was nice of him, I remember that. But actually meeting him, I never thought I'd meet him. He's an American rock star. It's like, what are the chances I'd ever meet Dee Snider? It just won't happen. Why would it? But it did, and he was there, and it was really quite kind of funny, because like I said, it was quite boring backstage, and then suddenly Dee Snider appeared, strutting, literally with his back up straight, confident, you know, strut backstage, just strutting through, walking through to go onto the stage, just leaving the whole backstage area with a real like charisma about him. And you know, it was kind of funny and cool, because it was like, it kind of stood out. It was like everyone was twisting their neck around looking at Dee Snider strutting along, and we were just like, what are we doing here? This is crazy. And then after he performed, we were still there backstage, because we hung around for a bit, and we wanted to get out and see some bands, but we stayed for a bit because we thought, well, who are we going to see next, you know? And yeah, then Dee Snider appeared after the show, and I said to his assistant or whatever that was there, I said, "Oh, please can I get a photo or whatever with Dee, or say hello, because I really, you know, always wanted to meet Dee. It would be really cool, you know." And he did let me just say hello to him there. He was going back to his trailer or whatever, I got this really cool photo with Dee Snider. It looks like there's a rainbow. The camera created like a rainbow effect across the photo, and it's a really cool photo. Me and Dee Snider. You'll find it somewhere on my social medias. But it's really rad photo. And there's even a moving photo where we're like throwing our rock hands in the air because my friend took it on his iPhone, so it moves the image. It kind of records a little part of it. So that was awesome. That's my Dee Snider story, and I just got a photo with him. Really cool to meet him. And then we were kicked out of the backstage area because the Scorpions were just about to show up, and they said, you got to go now, guys. They must have knew we were hanging around without a wristband on. I was just waiting for KK to finish his interviews, but I didn't get a chance to see much of him that day, but at least I got to Bloodstock. I've seen him a lot other times since, but it was cool just to see him briefly and be able to meet some people backstage. That was really cool. Then we were kicked out of the backstage and we went to watch the show, and it was just great actually being out there with the fans, because you realise how business rock and roll is. It's the fans that make it what it is, because when you're backstage there was nothing rock and roll about it, but when you get out there and there's the fans who are passionate about it, and it's like it was much better. It's like as someone who would have dreamed of getting backstage, as a teenager, you think, wow, it would be amazing. It's not really. But I did meet some cool people, and I'm glad of that, and I'd do it again, but maybe different people, because I've met them now. But I'd like to do it again. But like I say, is what's real about metal and everything is the fans and the passion and the music. I think sometimes things are better in your head than what they are in reality, so sometimes just enjoy the music, and that's about it. Don't always think meeting your heroes is going to be the best thing ever. I mean, for me, I've mostly had good experience, but it demyths it a bit, it debunks it, it's not what you think it's going to be. Everyone's a normal person, and they're not anything different, so it's better to keep that image in your head sometimes of, this magical being that you think they are, But so that's that was an experience, and we went and ate a load of free food after that, because I was doing a lot of things for Instagram at the time about different restaurants and stuff, like reviews and posting things about them. And I thought they probably wouldn't do it, being a festival and different food places. I thought, why would they give me anything free, because they're going to be like gone tomorrow. But they did. They were like, oh yeah, we'll give you a free pie, we'll do this. And we ended up having like 3 different meals, and I made a whole blog about all the food and stuff, a bit of promotion for them. I guess it helped them get some promotion for when they're playing other events and stuff. So that was good. We got some free grub. I love a bit of free grub. You might think I'm a cheapskate, so I got him free to the festival and I got some free food, but that's what I like. That's how I am. Love a bargain, I'm not someone to want to spend a lot of money on anything, so it was a good sort of pretty free day. It didn't cost a mega lot of money, and we had a lot of fun. So that was my Bloodstock story, of meeting Dee Snider. And obviously when we watched KK, that was one of the first things we did, and it was fantastic. I think we did that before we went backstage actually, and we were like really close to the stage. They did the Green Menalishi, and I can't remember what other song. I think it might be like Delivering the Goods or something like that. It was really cool, and KK was shredding away. I think it was the first time I'd seen KK play, because I'd seen Judas Priest a lot of times, but only with Richie, at the Hammersmith Apollo and the Wolverhampton Civic. I'd seen Priest a few times, and Download Festival, I'd seen them there. But unfortunately it was all after KK had left, and KK's always been my favourite guitarist. I love how he shreds, and he's the real deal, he's a real passionate player, and he sounds great. Always love to see KK play, and shame I'm in Mexico now. I don't get much of a chance to see these people anymore, but when I go back to England for short periods, I'll always look out for opportunities to see KK and Priest and stuff in concert again, because they're all rocking away, and they all sound great. Recently I've seen this Judas Priest show, I think it was the Hellfest. It's been televised. It was on YouTube, and it's a fantastic performance, really really good, so I recommend you checking out that if you want to dig it out. Rob's voice sounds on peak, really good mix as well. I think that Andy Sneap, who's filling in for Glenn. I think he's a producer for Priest and so he did the mix from what I was reading, and it's a really good audio. Rob just sounds great, you know, he sounds young again almost, you know, and it's all Painkiller stuff, loads of Painkiller songs. Yeah, so I think that was Hellfest. Yeah, Hellfest. There's a video, a whole concert that's been released, so check it out. But yeah, next up we're going to play a bit of Rainbow again, and this is one with Graham Bonnet on vocals. It's a classic, you'll probably know it. Since You've Been Gone. Let's hear this. Beautiful song and great voice, you know. Rainbow have had a lot of good voices, and yeah, that's yet another great singer there, Graham Bonnet. And yeah, I love the versatility of a lot of these singers, you know. And Dio, you know, he's done so many different sort of styles really, but it's always kind of magical, it's always kind of mystical, and I think that's what made Dio stand out. And obviously he's credited to be the inventor of the rock hand, you know, because his Italian grandmother used to do it as a sign of God, you know, warning off evil. And in fact, Dio in Spanish translates to God. So yeah, it's not as devilish as people have made it seem, you know. It was all quite the opposite, really. So yeah, that's an interesting bit of fact for you. But I think again, Gene Simmons was trying to trademark the rock hand, and he doesn't even do it right. He has his thumb stuck out, so I don't know how he can try and claim that one. But anyway, That's what he does. I think he's always trying to cause some kind of stir, but it might be all for publicity. Publicity, good or bad, it always helps, you know. When I interviewed Venom, Mantus from Venom, the guitar player, he said there was loads of stories being written about Venom in the day, and it all helped, you know. Like Venom, the noisiest, worst band, you know. It all helped because it was it made people want to go and check out the album and hear it, you know. So yeah, good or bad, you know. All news is good news, as they say. And it's part of the thing, you know. Ozzy with a bite in the head off the bat and everything. You know, he might not have even done that. That's how a lot of these stories start. I think with Alice Cooper, they said he ripped the head off a chicken and things like that. And it's not true, you know. Someone in the audience did something like that, and it was all the disabled row up the front. That's what Alice said anyway. But it's back in the days when they used to throw live animals on the stage, which isn't very nice. Pretty horrible thing to do, really. But this is how these stories start, you know. But yeah, I mean, Ozzy says he bit the head off the bat himself, so he probably did. But you know, all these things could be just rock and roll magic, you know, things that add to the mystical nature of these people. And it's funny when you think about it, how these people create a persona. And I think the more I've got to know and meet different rock stars and see what they're like off stage, they're rarely in rock star mode, only when they're on the stage. And each person has created their own little something, you know. There's you know, they've all got their own little thing. Alice Cooper with his guillotines and all these things, they've all got something that makes people think, oh wow, that's different, what is that? And I guess for anyone who's starting out trying to create something, and maybe you need something to set you aside from everyone else, be it the songs, the voice, you know, or the stage show, something's got to wow people. And in this day and age, it's hard to wow people. You know, I'm a musician myself, and I try and do just classic metal sounding stuff for the most part. I've always liked doing music videos and putting a lot of effort into that. I've always had an interest in filming and editing, so my King of Hearts music video, I went to a castle in Chepstow to film that, all in costume of a king, you know. And I dressed up as a priest another time for my song Burn the Priest, and I filmed that in Glastonbury, right on the Glastonbury tour. And Burn the Priest is, you know, it was more of a metaphor. It wasn't, you know, too literal. It's kind of about the darkness of the Catholic Church in some ways, you know, compared to what they should be and what they're supposed to stand for. But you know, as a believer in God and Jesus Christ myself, you know, I think you know, I always try and not do kind of satanic stuff in my own music, you know. So Burn the Priest is more of a metaphor. It was like more about the government and things like that, you know, rebellion and rebellions against you know, the system more than anything. It's kind of a metaphoric thing. I even say burn your TV, you know, in the song, because it's you know, metaphorically, of course. Just you know, get rid of your TV. Don't listen to the brainwashing box, you know. It's kind of what my message was on that song. But yeah, but as for what I'm saying about like what I try and do, I do music videos with different characters. The king, the priest. I've done Alien Invasion. Joey Belladonna introduced that one, and I mean like alien costumes, various alien costumes and masks and makeup. And yeah, I've done a lot of videos like that, and I have a lot of fun with that. I don't do that so much now. I'm too old now. I'm an old man now. I just rest, and you know, I let the music speak for itself. You know, that's what I try and do these days. But no, I'm not that old yet. But you know, I can't be bothered doing all the music videos these days. And in Mexico, I don't know, it's hot, so you know, I used to have my friend in England who I'd be like, come on, you're gonna film all this stuff, and she would. But my wife, I don't think she'd be as keen, you know, to be like, nah, get out of here, I'm not filming silly videos and things. You know, not that many people would want to. Okay, it's quite a task, you know. But my friend put out with me, and she always got involved. And yeah, we used to film all my music videos, different places and costumes. She hated doing it, but she did do it. You know, Changes in You was another one. That was a pirate. Because I think with Changes in You, my song Changes in You, I thought, you know, I've never done anything kind of where I look good. I thought I'm going to try and actually look good and appealing on a music video, rather than looking like, you know, a corpse paint creature or whatever. And I thought a pirate, you know, I was a bit younger, and, you know, I thought with a bit of makeup and a bit of eyeliner I can almost pull off a Jack Sparrow. So that's what I did. I did a bit of a pirate look, something cool. I thought, you know, people like pirates, I'll do a pirate character for this one. And it was probably kind of one of my best songs. It was recorded in a studio, you know, which was a change for me, because usually I work remotely a lot of the time, because, you know, it's just easier. It's, the people I collaborate with are in like America and different things. You know, a lot of people who compose the music for me, who've approached me. I've been lucky to have people approach me and just want to work with me, and that's how I've made so much great music. You know, I'd say it's great because the music is great, you know, because I didn't create the music on some of these tracks, you know. And when I received their music, you know, I've got Carmine in Las Vegas, fantastic. You know, he did the King of Hearts, and Zachary in New York, he did some great songs like Unfaithfully and Extinction, my black metal song. He did some good stuff. I got Sophia, who's in America somewhere. She does my song Mexico, and we've done loads of songs together. Watch the World Burn, a recent one we did, and Perfect Misery. We've done a lot of stuff. So all these people, they send me music sometimes, and I love, you know, what they come up with, and it is great. You know, the songs that I've been sent, there's some really good ones. So that's why I say it's great music, because it is, and it allowed me to then explore my lyrical ideas and vocal melodies and things, and come up with some unique stuff for myself. So yeah, that's how I typically work. But Changes in You was different. I went into a studio, there was an open mic I used to go to, and I got to know the guy who runs it, and he wanted help with his social media, and because I'm good at social media, and, you know, that's my speciality kind of thing, and promoting stuff, music and things, and getting stuff out there. He wanted some help with his own pages, and he said, well, we'll go in the studio, I'll record a song with you in his sort of, he had his own studio, and he said, you do my social media for a while, and I'll do the song for you. And that's what we did, and we sort of struck up a deal. No cash, just favours, you know, which is nice sometimes when you can do something to help each other out like that. So yeah, we were in the studio, we had a great time. We went for like an acoustic number, and yeah, I kind of really opened my heart about some breakup I'd had years ago. I had to reopen a wound, because I thought, well, it's kind of a sad song, you know, we had the melody. I think I may have already had some lyrics and stuff, and I thought, well, for a good song, you need to sometimes open a wound or whatever, you know, get into the emotions, and that's what I did with Changes in You. And then I approached Dom Jolly of Trigger Happy TV. You may remember that show. It was like a hidden camera prank show back in the early 2000s, and I loved it. I grew up on it, and I'd met Dom a few times and even been an extra in some of his more recent Trigger Happy things for all four. One was a Christmas special that was on the TV, where I was dressed as an elf chasing Santa Claus, which was Dom Jolly, down the street, you know, to get people's reactions. And another time I was in dog costume in a pub full of dogs, you know, some old guy walked in, and the whole pub's full of dogs, people in dog costumes sat there having a pint, and they look over at him when he walked through the door. So yeah, little pranks like that, it's very funny. I love that kind of humour, you know, getting people's reactions. So I'd been in an extra in a couple of things. I asked him, I just messaged Dom because I met him a few times. I said, would you be in my music video? Here's the song. And he said, yeah, Cheltenham, because I said I don't know where I'm filming, because I filmed the video in Weymouth, Western Super Megs. I needed a beach for the pirate. I did like a 3 location and Cheltenham as well, just to make it easy for Dom. So yeah, Dom picked us up, me and my friend who helps me film, at the train station, and yeah, we got in. He was quite obsessive about masks at that point, but we never really fell for all that kind of hypersensitivity thing. So we had to wear a mask in the car and all this stuff. Something I wasn't used to doing really, because it's, you know, I don't know, it was all a bit silly, or all a bit of an over the top period, I think, as we soon learned. But at the time, it was all like everyone was panicking. So, you know, it was just after that whole thing happened. So yeah, he was a bit obsessive with that. But then it was all right after like half hour. It was back to normal, and we were just, you know, filming and just enjoying, you know, having fun filming it and stuff. And yeah, Dom was a really good laugh. He was funny, and you know, at first he was quite serious, and I was like, shit, we're in the studio with Dom, not in the studio, in the woods with Dom filming, and I was kind of like, what am I gonna do here? You know, is this gonna be good? You know, a bit of nerves at the beginning, but then as soon as we started filming and stuff, it was really good. You know, it went really well, and we had something weird, as there was a grave in the woods, an unmarked grave, which really freaked out Dom. And yeah, it was just strange. There was a random grave, but we incorporated that in the music video, like a lost love, and somebody had carved their names in a tree, and we included that. You know, just whatever, we kind of include whatever. But in the end, the music video came together really good, and we did a little prank interview at the end, because I suggested it to Dom, like, that I'd interview him at the end and say, or my friend would interview us both, you know, a sort of fake interview, a joke sort of thing, like his Trigger Happy style for humour. And I said my friend can say, so Dom, what made you do this music video? And I said, you can just say, the money, and then I hand him like a big wad of cash. So that's what we did. He loved that idea, and he was very big on the final edit. When it come to editing the video, he wanted me to keep sending it back and forth, and the prank particularly, he was like, yeah, make sure it's good, you know. He wanted it to look good, the prank interview and all this stuff. So yeah, he was very hands-on with the edit. He was even getting some app up on his phone, this hyperlapse I think it was called, and it would make the movements look really smooth. So we filmed some stuff on his iPhone, he sent that over, and I included a bit of that in the music video, which actually didn't turn out as good as I think he thought it would, because it lacked quality. When he sent it over, the quality wasn't good compared to my Canon camera, which I was recording most of it on. So there's a bit of like moments in the music video where the quality's a bit off and stuff. But thing is, I'm very DIY. Whenever I do a music video, it's just about having fun doing it. I'm not a big one on perfection. I think there's too much these days where everyone wants everything perfect, and you know, especially with like metal, new metal's so like polished, it loses a bit of the rawness. I mean, to me, heavy metal's supposed to be raw, it's supposed to be heavy, you know. And same with like if you're doing something artistic like a music video and stuff like that. I mean, it's great to have a really polished, nice music video, but then I also think, do you need to? You know, sometimes it's nice just to have it a bit, you know, like you've done it yourself, you know, because it takes more work to do it yourself, you know. And sometimes the results, I like to show that you can do good things with limited funds and limited equipment, and Changes in You is certainly a music video that demonstrates that, you know. Very basic. I had a Canon camera, you know, which might have been expensive once, but not mega bucks, you know, just a couple of £100 or something, and that was the only expensive thing I had. I had a crappy old tripod from a charity shop that I picked up, and you know, not much else in terms of equipment. But the music video turned out really good, and that's how I always film my music videos. So I didn't really care if Dom was there or not, because you know, I'd done lots of music videos. Wake Up is another one I did, and they all look pretty good. And I thought, well, you know, you know, my strong point is editing and stuff, so I knew I could edit the video well, and I thought, yeah, it's good enough, it'd be good enough, you know. But some people would go crazy, they want loads of equipment just to show that they're, you know. Even Dom said himself, because he did a Twitch stream talking about this whole thing, which I put on my YouTube if you want to check it talking about the whole process of doing this music video, Changes in You. He said, you know, Matt and that, he said he didn't turn up with much, just a tripod and an old video recorder. He seemed to forget all about the Canon camera, which actually was a decent camera, but he remembered this little video recorder which my friend was using for kind of background footage, you know. But I think in his memory, I'd only had that, like a little handheld camera recorder. So I wouldn't go that low budget, really. You know, there's a limit a little bit. Those cameras are okay, but they're not, you're not going to get much good on them. But my Canon, which I did sort of reptile photography on in the past, that had a decent enough camera to do some good filming, you know. But again, it's a lot more lower budget than most people would have, so, you know, I'm proud of that, and that's how I like it, you know. I like things to be real and, you know, just work with what you got kind of thing, you know. And I'll play you Changes in You. As I say, it was a studio job, so the music is great and it's really good quality. It's one of the few songs I've done that are properly, expertly, you know, mixed and mastered and recorded. Everything professional on this song, so hope you enjoy it. This is Changes in You by me, Metal Matt.
When the tides change, I remain the same. When the voices stop, the same thoughts remain. Love lost in the wind, but I will never forget what once was us. Times change, so do people, yeah, but what remains is me. Lost in these changes, changes in you. Lost in these changes, what am I to do? Took my time, tried my best. Everybody hates me, so burn the rest. When the tides change, I remain the same. When the voices stop, the same thoughts remain. Lost in these changes, changes in you. Lost in these changes, what am I to do? Live your life without me. Turn your back on the past. Forget the things we have done. You'll be okay, honey. Just move on. Lost in these changes, changes.
I'm here right now with Metal Matt and Dom Jolly. Why are we here today?
Well, I'm here, I'm with, like you say, the comedy legend, Dom Jolly. I'm doing a music video. He was a goth in his youth. I thought he'd be perfect for this kind of, this song we're doing. It's kind of a song about changes, and Dom's kind of playing...
You got the money?
Huh?
You got the money?
The money? We're just doing an interview.
Okay.
I can give it now, but do you want to do the interview?
No, do the intro, it's fine.
Yeah, sorry. So the song's just about changes, and Dom's playing like an older version of me, kind of thing.
Not that old, to be honest.
Well, no, but you're getting on a bit. But
Dom, could I ask you what made you decide to do this project?
The money, have you got the money?
Oh yeah, you want it now?
Well, yeah, just for safety, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, the money, really. Anyway, guys, that was great.
And the other reason?
What? That was good. I enjoyed that, and good luck with the whole filming stuff.
What a nice guy.
What a nice guy.
And there we have it. Changes in You with the hilarious Dom Jolly there. Great comedian, although he's not the typical comedian. He isn't stand-up comedian or anything. He's more just of a funny guy, and his hidden camera stuff is brilliant. You may remember him with the big giant telephone going, "Hello! No, it's rubbish! Ciao!" You may remember that, or you may not know what I'm talking about, but either way, he's a funny guy. Yeah, that was our comedy little interview I come up with at the end there, which is a very Dom Jolly thing, Being a big fan of his shows, I kind of knew it would be up his street, a little comedy interview like that, and yeah, it was good. So yeah, that's Changes in You. I hope you enjoy that one, guys. It's available everywhere if you want to go check it out somewhere and download it or something, or stream it. If you want, up to you, but might be a good idea. But anyway, yeah, it was a good song, even if I do say so myself. Again, I work with so many people on these songs, I know if they're a good song, whether it's my song or not, because it's not just me doing it. I like the guitars, particularly good guitars on that one. I always do the lyrics and the vocals, and I'll come up with a melody and things here and there, but generally just lyrics and vocals. Melodies, little melodies sometimes, but yeah, that's where I really like to get stuck in. Lyrically, I love writing lyrics. The songwriting side of making music is probably my favourite, actually, but I love singing, I love using my voice, but yeah, I haven't really created anything that great for a while, so I'm waiting for some divine intervention and create another real banger of a song. I had a period of really creating some cool songs and working with some cool people. I've got my playlist here on YouTube. I'm just looking through. I've got Changes in You. Devil in Disguise actually is a recent one I did, which features JJ from Rob Halford's Fight Band doing some growls, what he's known for, and great at. In Fight, he did a lot of that. Rob Halford's solo band Fight in the 90s. It's a great working with him. Working with people who've actually played with Rob is, as good as it gets for me as a Halford and Priest fan, But yeah, we got the King of Hearts. That's 4 years ago. Changes in You, 4 years ago. Mexico, 3 years ago. Let Me Sleep Forever. See, these are all pretty good ones. 3 years ago, and all of these are done with different people. Let Me Sleep Forever. That's that Zachary from New York. Mexico, Sophia from America somewhere. King of Hearts, Carmine in Las Vegas, and a real mix. We got Extinction, that was Zachary composed that one. Rise Up, that's Sophia. Alien Invasion. But yeah, this is like 4 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I did have a nice version of my Mexico song recently mixed by someone called DB Music, and he made it into like a dance remix, which is cool because the singer who's singing with me, John Foster of Bronxky Beat, who I had do some guest vocals, he is known for his song in the 80s, Hit That Perfect Beat. Hit that perfect beat, boy, searching for some company, feel that rhythm, dance with me. Beautiful voice, I love his voice, so I've been blessed to have him on a few of my songs. Future he was on, and Mexico. But someone who's a fan of his and fan of 80s music was doing these remix things on YouTube, and I said, you can do Mexico if you want, and he jumped on it straight away because he obviously is a fan of John, and he did this really cool dance remix of Mexico. It's really cool. I've got that one out there now. So that's a recent thing as well, a few months ago. well, it says 8 months ago, but you know, it's still recent-ish. I did a song called Saviour, which Alan Atkins, the original singer of Judas Priest, he was a very original, and he co-wrote songs like Never Satisfied. I think he might have even wrote all of that song. Victim of Changes, Dreamer, Deceiver. He helped write a lot of that early stuff, and then I think Rob wrote some stuff as well with it. So yeah, he's a very important part of Judas Priest. He introduced my song Saviour. That was 10 months ago, just before I headed out to Mexico. So yeah, there's been, you know, I haven't been as prolific as I used to. It used to be songs all the time, you know, like a couple of years ago. But now, like I said, I'm just waiting for good songs, and just I'll do what I can when they come. But I got a lot of things. I'm doing more live singing now. I think I've evolved into performing and performance more now, which is nice. It's a nice change of pace, because everything I used to do is virtual all the time, whereas now I've got to actually get out there and sell it on the stage, you know, which is new for me. I'm not sort of always into that, you know, but then I've got this great band here which I play with, and they're like really good Mexican band, you know, proper heavy metal players, and yeah, they like to have me sing with them, and I love singing with them, and it's great. I'm enjoying it, and being able to sing Ozzy and pay tribute to Ozzy, Dio and Sabbath and stuff, like we are on Saturday coming up, you know, that's an honour for me. And being from England is kind of nice, I guess, for them as well, to have someone from England, where it all comes from, singing that stuff. And for me, it's an honour to be in Mexico doing it, you know, singing that stuff out here, and you know, for the fans who are out here, and bringing that music here in a way, you know, because you know, it's a long old way away. You know, and a lot of these bands maybe didn't come round to Mexico that often, so if I could do my little thing, my little part, play my little part in playing these songs, especially with Ozzy no longer with us, to be able to still celebrate his music and play his music, you know, it's an honour for me to be able to do that. So yeah, I'm happy that I've got the opportunity. And on that note, let's play some more, shall we? Some more Ozzy, some more Sabbath. We've got, how much? We got like half hour left, so I'm just going to play you a load of lovely music now by Dio, Sabbath, Ozzy, and this is one of my favourites now. Next up is Shot in the Dark. Shot in the dark. There we go. I love that song. So melodic. I love Ozzy's voice. You know, one of a kind. I can't believe he's gone, but at least his music is going to forever be here. And, you know, I say he's gone, it still feels like he's around, you know. I think with the mass, you know, celebration of Ozzy at the moment, where else would he be, you know? We're almost summoning him to be here, you know, with us, with the amount of people who are just blasting his music, watching him, thinking about him, you know. It feels like he's very much around still, you know. There's certain people like David Bowie, I never felt like he died, and I can watch his music, watch his performances without a kind of sadness, and I'm kind of like that with Ozzy. There's a bit of sadness, you know. I kind of can feel that he's no longer with us, but not to a great extent. I feel good when I listen to his music and watch him, and I still laugh at him, and yeah, I don't feel he's gone, you know. And you know, certain people you do feel they're gone. I mean, Freddie Mercury, I feel like he's, you know, really gone. You watch him, you think, oh yeah, he's a one of a kind, he's gone, you know. And there's certain people, you know, Michael Jackson kind of feels like he's gone, you know. But Ozzy, I don't know, there's a, for me anyway, personally, I don't know, it's a light that shines that bright, you know, it can't extinguish, you know, it is still around, he's still there. He's too big a star, too big a personality, and you know, his aura, his energy, it just feels like he's still around. So yeah, God bless old Ozzy. He had a good run, you know. He had a lot of close death experiences, I think, and he you know, probably abused his body a lot by the sounds of it over the years, but he made it through, you know. And you know, that's the Brummies for you, you know. They're a strong old lot. They go on a long time, you know. And that's probably why he's had the strength he did for such a long time. It's that working class thing in England where, you know, we struggle on, and we're built pretty strong, I think, the working class. So yeah, he's a classic working class guy, and always modest, always very modest, very never egotistic. You know, I never saw an ego with Ozzy ever, never, which I love. Who else can you say that about, you know? And yeah, on that note, let's listen to a bit of War Pigs, a classic from Black Sabbath, and yeah, one that I look forward to playing on Saturday here in Cancun. Gonna be a fun one. But yeah, here's to Ozzy. God bless you, Ozzy.
Gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Evil minds that plot destruction, sorcerer of death's construction. In the fields of bodies burning, as the war machine keeps turning, death and hatred to mankind, poisoning their brainwashed minds. Oh Lord, yeah. darkness world stops turning, ashes where the body's burning. No more war pigs have the power, and as God has struck the hour, day of judgment God is calling. On the knees the war pigs crawling, begging mercies for the sins. Satan laughing spreads his wings. Oh Lord, yeah.
Beautiful song, really cool melodies. I love that riff. Tony Iommi, I don't think there's another player who can play it that dark. You know, the riffs are dark no matter what. You know, he's always got that really heavy sound, and I think that's such a big part of Black Sabbath. And Ozzy's melodic voice with that is such a, you know, force to be reckoned with. There's nothing else like it. It's truly unique. So yeah, Ozzy's left us with so much great music. You know, the music of Black Sabbath, his solo work. I love it all, and I'm not going to talk too much now because I just want us to cram in a few more great songs towards the end of this show here today. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys. I'm here every Friday and Saturday. Fridays at 8 UK time, 8 PM that is, and Saturdays at 1 PM Eastern Daylight Time if you're somewhere else around the world and want to tune in. And that's 6 PM on the Sunday if you're in the UK. So yeah, thanks guys. Fridays at 8, Saturdays at 6, okay, if you're in the UK. And if you're not, do some research and you'll figure out what time it is where you are. But it's available worldwide. You can tune in Metal Stream Radio here every week. And yeah, we've also got some Spanish shows as well in Spanish. So yeah, you'll keep up to date on all my social media, and I'll be telling you all about when the different shows are coming out. So be sure you subscribe and everything, and notifications are on, and you won't miss a show, because it's great to be together, to rock together. And we're going to rock to some Perry Mason now, a solo catalogue canción by Ozzy. So yeah, here we are with some Perry Mason, another great song. little song there. I love Ozzy's solo work. It's always really cool to hear. You know, I love how kind of different it is. That one's very kind of mystical, you know, kind of a mystery and intrigue, and you know, very cool, like a whole drama in a song, you know. But anyway, thanks guys for listening. Like I say, you can tune in every week. Great to be here with you. I hope you've enjoyed this week's. I'm going to play us out with some Rainbow in the Dark, and yeah, just enjoy together some Dio now. Beautiful song, so here goes. Thanks guys, thanks for listening. See you next week.
Free and I see that it's me. You're listening to Metal Stream Radio with Metal Matt, and he's totally naked from the waist down.
Playing, having fun. It's cool. Let's just put it out. So that's what we're doing.
That's really cool. Yeah, sometimes it's good just to go with what happens. Sometimes it seems to happen for a reason, and yeah, it seems like it. It was the right thing to do, and you know, it's cool. You're bringing a bit of a rock edge to kind of blues and stuff. And I guess there's not many bands who've done that. You know, I can only think Judas Priest did Johnny Be Good once, but there's not that many times it's happened. So it's quite cool to see a kind of a bit more of a blend of the two genres. You know, heavy, making it a bit heavier, and you know, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, if people listen to our version of Black Betty, that's a really good example. I mean, the original version is the original version is by a guy called Leadbelly, and he wrote. It was just a vocal, and I don't know if you've ever heard that, but if you go on Spotify or something, you can listen to it, and it's just a vocal part that goes, "Oh, Black Betty," you know, it's like it's like a work song, you know. And then Ram Jam had their way with it, which is really killer, and that actually lends itself to a metal version, say. But we wanted to get it more. We wanted to rock up the thing, but we wanted to take it from the original version and go from there. And what we ended up with was like a little bit more of a it's like a ZZ Top version or something. It's like, you know, it's got this Texas kind of thing to it, or somebody else mentioned another influence that it sounded like. But the bottom line is we took it really into a new direction, and it's like a good mesh of the Dead Daisies and the original version.
Well, that's really cool. I think there's going to be a lot of fans anticipating this. It sounds like it's going to be really cool, and from the singles that have been released so far, yeah, it sounds great, and yeah, I can't wait to hear the whole album and the whole live setting that you're talking about. Is that something completely new for the Dead Daisies? Is that something you don't usually do? Would you? Is it quite different? Have you ever done that before? Recorded in?
Well, we always record live together. That's one thing that I love about the Dead Daisies is we actually have the ability to, we have the means to go into a studio together and write together and record together, and that's been a thing that we've always done. But what we usually would do would be we'd go in and we'd record the basic tracks, and then we'd kind of go back and listen, and we'd fix, you know, parts or develop parts. Like it might be, I might get through the tracking, playing rhythm guitar and throwing down a little solo or something. But I know that I'm going to go back and redo the solo, so I don't worry about it. And maybe the rhythm part, I might go back and say, I love this part the way it feels, but this part here, I want to change it, you know? And so we take it a step further. With this Looking for Trouble album, it's live.